Today I'd like to talk about choosing your palette. I'm going to take a page from More Shalom Coloring, and I'm going to pick 3 colors that I'm interested in today. I saw a very pretty flower the other day that was mostly magenta and green, and so that's my inspiration. And I want to add a 3rd color, especially for shading, and that's going to be a light blue. Now, as you can see, if you love color and you love colored pencils, you can end up with an awful lot of colors. But for design purposes, I like to limit my palette, and then I can decide how to do all the patterns in the coloring page. So the first thing I do is I take the blue and I take a darker and lighter for shading and for blending. And I take my green and I take a darker and lighter green for shading and blending. And I do the same with my magenta. Some purpley colors, some deeper colors. And then I make some swatches on a piece of paper that show me what the colored pencil looks like on the page. And I make the top a little darker and the bottom of the square a little lighter so I can see what it looks like as it's shaded. So then I look at my design and I see that there's some leaves, and I'm going to want to put some green in there. And I might want to use some of the deeper blues for the background because they'll recede a lot. And I'm going to just start real slowly, putting some pinks and magentas in the center. I want this whole area to have a pink and magenta look. And I'm going to start putting in the greens in the leaves. So here's when I started. And you can see I started with the lighter green over here, and I highlighted it with the lighter green, and then I used the darker green to shade in around the veins of the leaves and the edges of the leaves to give it a little depth and a little interest. When you use more than one color, it gets kind of interesting. And then I started doing that in the center with my purples and blues and magentas. And one thing I like to do is start a color very lightly. You don't want to go right in really intense. You want to just color a little bit lightly. You can always go deeper. Maybe you want some of the very tiny details deeper, and then you can blend with another color. And I go lightly with that too until I start to get the intensity of color that I want. So here's the finished piece. And you can see that I used different shades of green, different shades of blue and magenta, and I kind of alternated a little bit so that the rim was the pink and magenta, but the outside had some of the greens in it. Now you can choose any colors, and you can choose a completely different palette. And here's a sample in a totally different color combination. So have fun picking your palette, make yourself some swatches, start lightly, and the results will be great.